Hello, everyone. Welcome to Divine Numbers and Theories, where thinking outside the box is the new common sense. I'm your host, Sharon Kasleka, and I have a special guest today. She means so much to me. I met her alongside of the Q movement. She's my soul sister. I'm so proud of her for standing up for truth, justice, and exposure of what's happening in this world. And I just appreciate her so much. We are big gematria coders on everything. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to my dear friend, Danielle Rae Clark. Hey, Danielle.
Hi.
Say hi to everyone. I love your background. I
It's
love it.
it's on the Zoom.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I
I
just
love it. I
picked it
love it.
out.
Awesome. Hey, and real quick to all the viewers, please click like and subscribe because I'm going to be having some really great guests on with diverse conversations and just get involved in how you feel and comment and just kind of get involved in what we're talking about, how you feel, what are your experiences, what's your feedback. We love that stuff. So please give it a like and share. So and subscribe. So thank you on that. So Danielle, like, hello, what is going on in this world, right?
Yeah,
A lot
it's a
going
little
on.
crazy.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Well, quick question. So, how was the rally you went to? Want to tell our guests a little bit of where you went just recently, where President Trump was?
Well, it wasn't a rally. It was the Jubilee kickoff party, and it was held at the Iowa State Fairgrounds in Des Moines, Iowa, where I live. And it was like going and seeing the president. We went and stood in line and, you know, saw the president again. Only this time it was to celebrate the starting, so the first day of the year of Jubilee was Memorial Day this year. Not a lot of
Hmm.
people know that. The kickoff party was July 3rd at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. Not a lot of people know that. Like the Des Moines
Hmm.
Register didn't even put it front page news. Like it was like the mainstream media doesn't want anybody to know that we've won the war and that the child trafficking is done, like, and we're in the phases of publicly seeing the destruction of the internal deep state of America. All of those players who got caught in treason for the 2020 election, all of that stuff. People are starting to say, Trump 2028. Well, I'm still on 2020. you know it
Yeah, right. Oh, don't get me going on that. Hmm.
so where we've gotten our independence back again from the deep state, from England. Like, we were never completely, like, they sold us back to, a lot of people don't know that they sold us back to England years down the road after we had gotten our independence. So now,
I love
because
what you're saying. So for people, okay, and I don't mean to interrupt, but we're gonna have in the future, I can already feel it. There's gonna be a lot of people looking for simple breakdowns of what really has been happening behind the scenes. And I'm like, I love that. I think it's hard for people to break down into simple. So if you're doing a great job, but if you could explain from the very beginning of what's happening since the Act of 1871 and what you're talking about and bring it full circle to what you were just
that's
saying.
when they sold us back to England, and then that's when they started hardcore with implementing a lot of these things that we now have come to just kind of accept. It was the first stages of um, the internal invasion of our country, um,
Hmm.
of from the deep state. They, like I said, they sold us back to England. So we, and then, years later down the road with the poisonings to dumb down the population, so that way we would forget that we were sovereign children of God. So that way we would
Mm-hmm.
recognize, that we don't have to answer to the government. The government answers to us, and that's what the Constitution is for, is so that way the government never gets too much power to where it's tyranny and to where
Yep.
it's communism. And that's where we
Yep.
were headed. And then here comes President Trump and his administration, and they stopped it all. So the birth certificates, those are all a scam. That's part of the enslavement of the American people. The social
Yep.
security numbers, that's part of the scam. That's part of the enslavement of the American people. The tax system, that's part of the scam. That's part of the enslavement of the American people. And all of these other things, all of these laws that are unconstitutional, like, me, I've been fighting with the states. And I say states because I've been fighting it in Missouri and in Iowa, with the right to travel without having, in a non-commercial vehicle, when you're practicing your First Amendment right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Doesn't matter what vehicle you're in. You're not making a wage. You're not earning any money. You're not participating in commerce. You're just going from point A to point B. At that time, you're a time traveler in your time machine, and you don't owe anybody anything because you are the sovereign. You are the king, you are the queen, and the king and the queen don't pay to travel on their road when they're just gonna be like going camping or taking their kids to soccer, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, register your car and all that
Right.
crap and
Right.
every other
Register your
fine and
car.
thing
You
that
got
you
to make
can.
sure you
Yep.
have your license, all that. Well, guess what? If you're not making any money doing it, you don't have to have it. And them forcing you to do it is unconstitutional and it's illegal. And I've personally been fighting, like I said, with the state of Missouri and with the state of Iowa for the past 3 to 4 years now. I
So
just
proud of you.
I just went in front of had a trial again on June 9th, and I told them,
Pound
I
sand.
told, I told them I was charging them with treason against the Constitution for violation of our First Amendment rights. So I'm in the
That
process.
probably ticked them off a little bit. And for
Oh
the
yeah,
record, for our
oh yeah.
viewers,
I mean, so I'm
Danielle
I'm
is
in the
going
process
to.
of writing Senator Grassley about it and President Trump about it as well. But
Mhm.
I know
And
who
so
I
our
am.
audience knows about Danielle. She is actually going to pre-law on exactly what we're talking about. So she's pretty well versed. And I feel like a lot of people, we were just talking about this yesterday, where, you know, the program runs so deep. And I really can't stand that term program, but it really is a program that people are just so exhausted by the end of the day. They turn on their fake news, they take everything at face value. They just tell you what's happening in the news, but they're not telling you why it's happening. And that's why so many people
Well, that's
are
because it's
going and
you and I
okay.
both know that, and it's hard for people to
Yeah.
understand that the things that they are seeing on the news is orchestrated events to
Yep.
distract you from what's really going on.
Correct.
That's what the
Yep.
news is doing. So, you know what? I have a hard time with some of these quote natural disasters that are going on, like with I just the direct
Something's going on.
energy weapons, the Hawaii stuff, the fires in California, the flooding in Texas. I have a hard time, especially after January 6th, trusting what I see on TV, and I call bullshit on a lot of it
Yep.
because it's all central casting. It's all fake evil Freemason families who are getting paid to distract the people and keep them in fear and be like, oh, they're modifying the weather. Yeah, they're modifying the weather. They're making natural disasters in order to what did they do? All of those girls, that's prime age for their Satan sacrifices that they do.
Did you notice too that the name, what was it called? Mystic Camp, and they were in
Yeah.
Hunt, Texas? Like those are cues and clues in itself. Hunt, you get what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. And we know about all of
In our
like the
face.
human hunts that they've had out in the national parks. That's why they wanted us to quit going camping. That's why they closed down all the lands. That's why they took the lands away from everybody, and that's why they forced everybody into cities. And that's why they want control of the food. They're poisoning the food. The big farmers are the ones poisoning the food. They get paid a lot of money to put chemicals on the food that goes out to the population. I
I
don't
also
trust
think a
farmers.
lot of them, I
I'm from
think a lot of
Iowa.
them,
I don't trust farmers. I don't care what President Trump says right now. I know too many Freemason farmers who are getting paid to put nasty chemicals on their crops. And what does that do to it? It's disgusting. I mean, there's people who live out in the country who are being forced to move out of their homes because their kids are having respiratory problems because the farmers are spraying chemicals on the food.
yeah, it's just
So
awful.
I,
You
I,
have
I'm,
to
I,
wonder how many of them too, though. I like to play devil's advocate. How many were actually forced to do that kind of stuff? Like, what do they have on them? Were they threatening their families' lives? Like, you know what I mean? I think there's going to be just so many layers to it as well. But I
well,
agree with you. They know. They know.
they know exactly what they're doing. And I'm
Hmm.
sorry, as somebody who for the last 4 years has been homeless off and on because I lost two jobs because I refused to wear a mask and play in and and get the kill shot, the freaking exactly. Yeah, because I didn't do that. I lost two jobs. I've lost
So proud
everything,
of you, though.
including the custody of my children because mom's crazy because of all of this stuff that she's talking about now. So
Danielle, I just
I
want to
didn't have the
say,
money for a lawyer, so I
that's when you learn. That's when you
well,
learn to
and
go dig. Yeah.
so now I'm going back to school and I'm been representing myself in court anyways. So I got accepted into university for pre-law. So I'm starting Drake in August here in Des
So
Moines.
proud of you.
And I just got my own place within walking distance from school. I still have to ask for money because I forgot that when you get out of the military, your GI Bill is only good for 15 years and then you lose your benefits. You're no longer allowed to use them at all. So
Does that even make sense? To me,
it's
if you're
public
doing
law.
like,
It's public law. So that's part of the reason I'm going to try. That's one of the other things I'm going to try to change when I go to law school is get some of these laws changed. So that way, you know what? I fell into addiction for a long time with drinking, and I've been
that
sober
was a
for
while ago. Yeah.
I've been sober for 4.5 years, almost five. November will be 5, and I want to show my kids, one, I'm not crazy, and two, there's second chances. So
Yes.
I'm going to be asking, for help. I need help because I've been, trying to climb my way out of the rock bottom that I got to, and I know that since I'm putting in the work, God's going to make a way. Um,
Yep.
even even on my
Common
darkest
sense.
days, when the devil tries to get me to end things myself, I know that as long as I keep my faith in God and Jesus, that it's going to be okay. And so here I still
Proud
am.
of you. So
Um,
proud of you. And can you tell our audience about your military background, a quick, so they know a little bit about your background?
so I graduated high school in the year 2000, and I was supposed to go to Iowa State. And the day before I was supposed to move into the dorms, I chickened out. I just had this inner voice that was like, "Don't go. Like, you're going to be spending the rest of your life paying all of these student loans back because you're poor. You're white, you're a woman, you're poor, you don't qualify for anything. Like, there's not a lot of help for poor white women in America. I mean, I'm here to testify that there's like, you basically got to like pretend that you're another color in order to get help if you're a white woman in America. Okay. Or you have to
True,
sell
you
your
know, because
body. And
they
I'm not
pay all
doing
of
that.
these illegal pay all these illegal aliens though for their
Right.
preschooling. Like, wait till
Right.
people that can't stand President Trump really wrap their heads around that. That like literally you got these illegal aliens coming in the wrong way, and they're getting the opportunity
Yeah,
when
I'm
you've
like,
been here all
where's
along.
my
It's like,
white
that makes,
privilege? Like, like I've
yeah.
been homeless for, off and on, because of all of these things that I've been fighting against. So, and guess what? The color, I'm almost neon. The color of my skin hasn't helped me at all, because guess what? I'm colorblind. So
I
I
don't know
judge
about you,
people by the
Gabrielle.
content of the character, not the color of their skin, just like Martin Luther King said. That was
Right.
MLK all the way. You
Yep. You
know,
keep those labels in front of everyone, though. That's how you keep the division,
Right, and that's
instead
what
of
they
being all
do.
one.
So,
Yeah,
I'm one of those people that when I start to fill out paperwork and stuff, I prefer not to answer because,
good for
I
you.
just prefer not to answer. It shouldn't even be on there.
It
Like,
doesn't even matter. It doesn't.
right,
It's for them,
right,
not us. Yeah.
right. The race, the
Yeah.
ethnicity, the race thing, it shouldn't be on there because we're all American. And if you're not American, you're here illegally and you shouldn't be here.
Yeah. I
Come
agree.
to our country the right way. Go to any country
Yeah.
the right way if you want to go,
Yeah.
and that's at the end of the day. Like, and I used to have a different point of view on that. I used to be on the other side. I used to think,
Yep.
that we should let everybody come here. No, we shouldn't. Everybody should be vetted because I don't want, the drug dealers. I don't want the drugs in my country anymore. I don't want the pornography
Right.
in my country anymore. I don't want
I
any
know.
of those negative
It's
low
all
thought
been
patterns
normalized.
in my country anymore because that's not what God
Yeah.
is. That's not what Jesus is. So we don't
Yep.
want that in our country anymore.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I had to work on changing myself.
So
So
military wise, so you didn't go to college and
so I didn't
instead,
go to college. So a year later, I was kind of at a point in my life, and at this time, the recruiting station was at the Southridge Mall, and I walked into the office. The first door on the right was the Marine Corps, and the lights were off. The door was shut. The second door was the Navy. I poked my head in. There was three guys sitting there, and they said, "Can we help you?" And I said, "I need something to do with my life." And they said, "Come on in." And then I left 2 weeks later. Um, five
thank
weeks
you.
into boot, you're welcome. Five weeks into boot camp, 9/11 happened. So it was during service week. I had gotten the flu because you get a whole bunch of you get at least seven vaccinations when you go to boot
I'm
camp.
so sorry.
Um,
Bullshit.
so then I got the flu, so I was SIQ. And then so since you're in boot camp, they don't show you the news or anything like that. So all you get is what the government is telling you.
Yep.
So all I knew was they ran a plane into the tower. We're going to war because that's what my RDC had said. He said,
Mhm.
some dipshit just ran a plane into the Twin Towers. We're going to war. And that is quotations what he said as he walked through the berthing. So yeah, and then I did boot camp, did the Navy, and then was on the USS Camden. Um, that's where I met my first husband, my first ex-husband, my children's dad. Um, and so I got pregnant, we got married. He finished his service, and then I finished mine a year later. We both got out honorable, discharged. We served our time. We didn't get in a bunch of trouble. I mean, I got in some trouble, yes, I did.
Because of those. Is it that?
No, I got in trouble because, okay, I had a very hard time getting to a certain watch that is in the middle of the night while we were on deployment, and I kept oversleeping. And so I
Oh.
got wrote up for dereliction of duty, for oversleeping. Um, and I don't know what it was. Like I could work 24 hours straight and not miss any of my watches, but it was it was a certain watch, and because we all had a
I'm
watch.
sure it wears on people after a while too. That's why you have the buddy system for backup.
Yeah, and they did, and then so my buddy, they would send her up to make sure I was up, and they'd make it was and I love her dearly, even still, but yeah, so then I was in the Navy, got got honorable discharge, did my 4 years of active duty, um, and then just kind of, came back home, started having a family. I
Hmm.
fell into alcohol addiction because of some trauma that
Oh,
happened. And that
so
was,
sorry.
even before, it was kind of like trauma happened, alcohol was, my thing
Yeah.
to deal with it,
Yeah.
and then family, and then trauma happened. And so it was just, a couple trauma seasons on top of each other. And
At
so,
this point, Danielle, I think everyone has it in
right,
some way, shape, or
right. And,
form, to be quite honest, unless they're
everybody
completely
has
clueless in
everybody
what's.
has some teeth in their testimony,
Yeah.
so at least
Hmm.
I want to try. I'd rather spill my own than spill somebody else's. You know what I'm saying?
I love
So
that.
I don't
That's
want
great.
to be the one spilling anybody else's tea anymore, because that's one of the things I've been trying to get over too, is growing up in an environment where gossip was the one of the standards. You talked about everybody. You know,
I'm so proud of you because that's one thing when you really awaken, you realize how our our entertainment, commercials, social media, movies, everything, they literally show us our behaviors. And when I bring that
right?
up to people, they laugh and I'm like, "Really? Huh. So you say all the same things that they say in movies. You go with the new trends every year. Hate to say it, but that's programming. You know what I mean? And they still don't understand how the program works because they think that they have free choice, which when you're awakened, I feel like many of us know we have that free choice, but when you're not, you're just you know what I'm saying? So I'm
Mhm.
proud of you because I recognized once I awakened as well is that all of our entertainment show the kids how to be bullies in the movies they watch.
Well,
Like,
I mean, art imitates life. So they can't come up with anything on their own. The only thing that they're entertaining us with is, like you said, they're literally showing us our own selves. They
mhm.
literally have been watching us through the TVs, through our phones, through our technology for
Isn't
decades.
that creepy?
For
Oh my
decades.
God.
And as soon as we give them permission to do anything, and on top of that, the birth certificate scams. So whoever
Mhm.
bought your birth certificate is the one who has your rights to your life. They can copy your life, and they could name you Boo for Monsters Inc., and they could just copy you, and you have and they turn you into a cartoon, and then pretty soon you're going, there's so many coincidences with this and this and this. And then Q says, how many times do you have to see it before it's mathematically impossible?
Hmm.
And I'm not
Hmm.
saying that they copy everybody, but they copy some people almost to the T.
Hmm. Hmm.
Or,
Oh,
they
I agree. I think that.
so
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're having a
So
lot of
back
girl talk
to
here, guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
I so back to so I've just so I raised my right hand. I swore an oath to the Constitution and to the order to obey the orders of the President of the United States. And since 2020, I have there's not been a president who I really would want to ever stand behind and obey their orders anyways until 2020 and President Trump, because I didn't vote in 2016 at all. And if it says that I did, it's a lie, and they used my vote for cheating in 2016 because I
Hmm.
didn't vote in 2016. I refused, and then I got and I was bartending at the time, and the old timer said, "Are you kidding me? You're a veteran and a female, and you didn't vote. Do you know how many people have died so that way you could have the right to vote?" And I went, "Oh,
Mm.
you're right." So
Yep. Yep.
so I started being more active after that, and then I found out about Q, and then I found out about President Trump, and then I found out about the
So,
whole thing, and then COVID happened. So COVID happened first, and then I
hmm.
found Q that summer of
Hmm.
2020, and my
Hmm.
life changed completely from then. And
Yeah. You
so
really learned a
oh,
lot
it's
too.
crazy.
But honestly, when I started learning about it as well, it did sound a little crazy until just all the
And
coincidences
for me,
lined up.
when I started learning about all of it, it didn't sound crazy to me at all. It made complete sense. All of
That's
the
good. For me, at
all
first,
of
I
the
was like,
it was like all of the missing holes clicked, all of the dots lined up. And then especially when I learned gematria and
oh,
you know, so they can't copy us. So all of these things that they show you in the TV are about people. They are
yep.
writing stories about the people that they're watching because they can't come up with this shit. They've already told us that,
It's the
you know?
art of war. It's going to blow
Right.
people's minds when they literally find out the truth that it's
Right.
been in our faces all along. So let me ask you. So you said you found Q. So could you tell the audience? So you started with the rallies, correct?
Uh,
Is that when you ended up getting into the Q movement? You kind of were starting to learn, and then you found out that certain people were traveling alongside of President Trump at the rallies. Yes?
no, I
No?
first
Okay.
no, actually I found out about Q and then I started following Charlie Freak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was a hardcore Charlie Freak follower for a good solid 2 to 3 years. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been, well, that was 2020 to about 2023. And
Mm-hmm.
then I haven't really followed him for the last 2 years at
So
all.
is that how you ended up getting involved with the rallies? I'm just trying to
Yeah,
connect it with
so
how you got.
then I started following Charlie Freak, and meeting like-minded people through Freak Sense, started reaching out to people that way. Then that turned into finding Negative 48, which
AKA Michael Bryan Pronsman, whom, just saying, because everyone, we want to document this.
you mean Michael Bryan Protzman 218, Joker on
This
a motorcycle 218, John F. Kennedy Jr. spelled out equals
Trump's always
218.
pointing to him in the rallies, going,
No,
oh, like, and
I
people call us the crazy ones. It's like, wait till you find out who you've been talking to.
I I love Michael and I miss Michael. So um
His
so
character.
so I was following Charlie Freak and Justin, you know, Charlie Freak and Justin Carpenter, and then went to Dallas and met with all of the Negative 48 people in Dallas, and just I was very new to all of it. Like they had been following Michael for, quite a few years, and then I was just finding him when we went to
Mhm,
Dallas. um
mhm.
and
What
so
was that experience like for you? Like, so let me ask you, when you went to the rallies, did you have an idea of who his character was and who was playing him, or did you find out as you continue to go to more of these rallies?
um are you talking about Negative 48?
Yeah, who he is behind the mask. Did you already know, or did you already hear those rumors, or did you find out as you
All you had to
kept
do
on to
was sit
some of
there
it?
and listen to him do a
It's his
gematria lesson.
voice, right?
That's all you
Yeah.
had to do, like, is yeah. So
I love it. I've actually shown a few people. I'm like, okay, listen to
I
his
would be
voice
lying
here.
if I say I
Now,
hadn't
now
if
go.
I would be lying if I said I didn't have my doubts at times, because
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, especially with and my doubts about everything, including Q, because mom, dad, and my kids back home and my family back home are still saying that I'm crazy and I need to be in a
Well,
mental
that's part of the
institution,
program, Danielle.
everything
That's part
else.
of their programming to diss on everyone else instead of being
And
open-minded.
I should have just
Um,
taken the shot. I should have just worn the
and
mask.
complied, right? Yeah, put your mask on. Oh, I knew something
Right.
was up when that first came out, and I put masks on because I have always had like sinus nasally deviated septum stuff, so you can hear it in my voice. But I remember I just pulled this out of my closet just this past weekend. I was cleaning, and I'm like, I remember when I put this on. One, I could not even breathe because of
Hmm.
my, you know. And I started getting sinus infections. And when you get
Right.
sinus infections, those
Right.
are painful. And I'm like, something ain't right. And I'm like, I am
Right. And
not
I'm not
doing
going
this
to say that
anymore.
I didn't learn them,
I matter
you know.
too, because here's the thing that I got a problem with, and I love it because now we're gonna all be flipping the script. And what I mean by that is my body, my rights and the women's movement. Well, guess what? My body, my rights applies
They
to
didn't give
this
a
stuff.
shit about that when they
Exactly.
were doing the
My
math.
body, my right to get that as well, not just pound it down your face and be
Yeah,
like, you'll
I
never
don't know.
get
Did you,
it.
anybody hear me yell when at the Jubilee kickoff when President Trump said we're gonna get down to the bottom of what's causing the autism, and I said it's vaccine poisoning.
That's
I don't
right.
know if anybody heard me, but I yelled it as loud as I
Oh, I'm
could.
sure it's on record somewhere, girl. I love that
So
about you, though. So that's good. He's chomping all these comms for people, and he's gonna tell everyone. And here's the thing, Danielle. I don't believe one thing that any of their evidence says. What I mean by that is, I feel like more and more people are just getting sick all the time. So clearly, these fucking vaccinations do shit for people. You know, I mean, it's
no,
awful. We didn't have this autism
it's
problem
the
and
medical business. It's a business. It's
Ponzi
a
scheme.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
people want to say that frequency healing is a Ponzi scheme. No. What the Ponzi scheme
absolutely
is the modern medicine establishment, the modern medical industry, Pfizer, the hospitals. You know, I'm not going to say that, you know, some of them haven't done good things because, you know, I've had to be, you know, we've all had to go to the hospital, you know, we've all had to, you
I
know,
agree. I agree. Accidents, car
however,
accidents,
with
things like that.
getting back to our sovereignty and remembering who we were, like I was born at home. So
I remember you telling me that. That's so beautiful. That's so
you know,
beautiful.
it can be done. And let me tell you what, the doctors were pissed off when my mom brought me to the hospital finally for the first time and I was over a month old. They were like, she told me they were angry. Why would a
Because you
doctor
didn't get all those
be angry?
vaccinations.
Right, because they couldn't inject me with poison right away and sever that God connection. That's what it is. That's what
Yup.
that's why they give babies so
Yep.
many vaccines. And now that I know, I don't want any of
Oh,
my kids to ever have vaccines and any of my future
I
children will
agree.
never have vaccines. I hope they get rid of vaccines altogether, period.
Oh, I do.
They're
You
no
know what I
good.
think? Yep, I agree. What I think they're going to replace them with is they'll probably call it something else, but it'll be like vitamin C and these other things that will
No,
help
I
heal
hope they
people.
don't get no, stop replacing
No, no, no,
this.
no, no, no. You're
No.
misunderstanding what I'm saying. That healthy things for our bodies. Maybe call it something different, but not a vaccination.
No, we don't need any kind of injection
Food.
whatsoever. If it comes in a needle, why? That's just if you wouldn't shoot meth or whatever into your if you wouldn't do that with a needle, then you shouldn't do anything with the needle.
It's okay for us to agree to disagree. I just think that they're going to come out with something with
I just
people that
I
are
don't because
severely.
the med beds are coming because
Yeah, and
when
those
you
are very
start
real.
doing
I
the
love that.
research on the med beds, they the day before I started doing research on Dr. Rife, and
Yep,
the day
the right
before they
machine.
were going to release the findings from his study of the 16 people that he cured of cancer with his beam ray machine,
Hmm.
they poisoned the doctor or the person who was going to release the the findings and then
Hmm.
forced Dr. Rife into hiding. So he went into hiding down in Mexico because people around him started dying. And they started and
Yeah,
they
just like the Clintons do to people.
exactly. They
I
don't
mean,
call
it's
it
funny, but
Hillary
not funny.
for
That's
nothing.
yeah. Yep. Yep.
Right.
I
So
remember telling a very good friend of mine, her boyfriend at the time, he had testicular cancer, and long story short, she's very open to this, like you and I. And I'm like, girl, I'm telling you, you can even buy some of these mini Rife machines on Amazon because I started
I
looking
don't
into
trust
it.
them. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make my own. I'm gonna actually ask. I've got some things that I'm gonna be doing down the road. I don't trust, and Dr. Reif even warned in his own words about snake oil salesmen and wolves in sheep's clothing. About
It's all our entertainment. Look at the Wizard of Oz. Look at the guy traveling in the wagon.
right,
I
but what
mean,
I'm saying is,
yeah.
I don't trust any right now any technology that says it's a Rife machine. Nope, I don't trust it. I don't trust it at
Mm,
all. I think they're
mm.
just using. I don't think it's right. That's just my personal opinion. So I would
Yeah, yeah.
rather just figure it out myself, go and do all of the research myself and build the machine myself. I just don't trust anybody anymore. They've
I
poisoned our air,
know.
they've poisoned our water, they've poisoned our food, they've poisoned everything. So I don't trust anybody anymore.
You and my friend Gina out here in Utah would get along so well because she's so passionate about it as well. I mean, I feel the same way too. I mean, when you really start finding out that it's starting in your water, in the fluoride, then your crops, then they want you to poison your grass with all their quote unquote fertilizer and chemicals so that it seeps into the ground so you can't even farm on your own land. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yep.
it keeps going. And then you got this. I mean, once you awaken, I'm just so glad that so many people are awakening now. Even people that couldn't stand Trump, I've seen quite a few of them start turning the corner. Like I just had another, oh, hey JFK. I love it. I love that picture. I love it.
Yeah.
First place he ever visited was New Hampshire, the live free or die state, when he was running for president.
Yeah.
I find that interesting. But God, I just got an email, a message on Facebook this morning from a woman back in Amherst, New Hampshire, and she's like, "What's all this Q stuff?" So now she's like, "So see, I'm actually interviewing them now." Where it's like, okay, so what have you done? What have you heard?
Mhm.
Do you know how they work and all that? Because I want to know where their brain is at and how to give them the information to start. So what I did is I basically told her, I'm like, well, wait till you find out. New Hampshire is why they found Ghislaine Maxwell there. Out of all Jeffrey Epstein's sidekicks, she could have gone anywhere in the world. So I was showing her the Q drops. And what I mean by that is they put it right in our face. The next town over, Milford, New Hampshire, there's Pizzagate. Well, pasta is a pedo language too. The guy from the pasta loft got arrested for trying to have sex with a young boy in another state. He got caught. It hit national news. You know what I mean? Then it was either New Boston or Mount Vernon. They put in people's faces once again how a woman, a young girl, she wasn't young, but she was like teenager, had to tunnel her way out of a very affluent family that human trafficked her and used her as a slave. Like that hit national news too. And then that guy, Mike Gill, the state of corruption doing the laundry video that I sent to you, if that is not a cue um, central casting, I mean, they did a great job at that. But I'm like, it's in your face. It's in your face everywhere. And not a lot of people because they kept everyone so busy with work and running around with kids and just doing the same hamster wheel every day, every day, every
Right.
day.
I mean, they never wanted us to wake up. They wanted us to keep going to work. They wanted us to just,
Yep.
keep eating the crappy food that's going to calcify your pineal gland so you don't ever awaken.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to ever awaken at all.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to keep standing up for our rights. They
And for
wanted
the children's rights,
they
that's the big one.
right. They
That's what
wanted
this
us
is really
to just,
over.
roll over and, like my mom, what can you do about it? What can you do about it? Well, you can stand up and you can say, no, I'm not fucking doing it.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
why I
I'm
decided,
so proud of you.
I guess God put the fight to fight for the right to travel in my realm, or else, those things wouldn't have happened to me. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have police force.
Yep, I agree.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when that police force helps take the rights, the God-given constitutional rights away, that's when your police force is corrupted.
I
Because just
agree.
like
And
I
you,
told him in court, I said, our first line of defense against domestic terrorism is what should have been the law enforcement of the United States, and they failed
keep
us.
it simple. That's it. Just go
They,
by that.
they
You wouldn't
failed
have
us.
all these.
They failed us for their greed,
Yep.
and that's what I
Yep.
told them in court. So
I'm so proud of
I gave
you. I'm so glad you have that all
You
on
want me to
record
read
because
it? You want
that,
me to read what I told everybody in court?
yeah,
Okay, hold
yeah.
on. Can you still see
I
me?
love it.
That down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And real quick for our audience is I just want to tell people from my perspective, when I found out how serious the human trafficking was, I mean, literally, they put it in your face. There's two new movies out, The Accountant 2 and The Working
Mhm.
Man, with that Jason Statham and the other one with Ben Affleck. Both amazing movies. And what I loved is that they used that as a tool to show both of them were about human trafficking and how they do it. Yet people still
Yeah.
sit there going, "Dur, dur, 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 dur," like this is conspiracy land. This would
Oh,
never happen.
you
No,
better
that's exactly
stop.
why President
Sorry,
Trump
I'm
wrote
talking.
a, yeah. But my point is it's about the children. And when people really
My
take that
computer is
serious,
messing up.
oh no, you froze. Oh, no, I see you.
So
You're moving.
no, I know, but do you know how your technology starts messing up when they don't want you to get the truth out?
Oh, yeah, all the
Because
time.
it's listening to us.
Glitch,
Because it's
glitch,
listening
glitch.
to us.
Yeah, I do this
Yes.
all the time to them.
All right. Are you
I flip
ready?
them off a lot. Yes, I'd love to hear that.
Okay, this is what I said to the court at my trial in
So
defense
proud of
of
you.
why I was driving without a license plate because I don't have to because I'm a non-commercial vehicle. I'm a traveler. So this
Yeah.
is I don't even know how many times I've been to court for this now.
It's
So this is what
ridiculous too when you think about it.
it's ridiculous. This is what I told him. I am a sovereign child of the Most High God. My name is Daniele Rae Clark. In August of 2001, I took an oath to defend the Constitution and the people of my country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. For too long, the rights and freedoms that our country was founded on and our forefathers died for have been taken away by the radical evil Freemason agenda of the domestic terrorists we the people refer to as the deep state. Starting with the
Oh,
Articles of Confederation, the first draft of the Constitution, Article 4, ensures and guarantees the free movement of the citizens between states and also provides the extradition of criminals. Exercising the right to travel in pursuit of happiness is not a crime, nor does it state anywhere in the Constitution that traveling is only allowed if taxes, fees, and insurances are bought and paid for. Could you imagine George Washington refusing to participate in the Revolutionary War because he didn't pay the tax and insurance on his horses and carriages? We would still be under the rule of the British Royal Crown had that happened. Common law is the legal system or body of law that is developed through court decisions and judicial rulings rather than written laws or statutes passed by legislature. Common law already acknowledges that a private man or woman has the inborn right to travel the nation's roads without requirement for a driver's license, vehicle registrations, insurances, or unconstitutional taxes and fees. The Supreme Court on several occasions has already established this fact, and here are a few examples. Chicago Motor Coach v. Chicago 169 NE 221. The use of the highway for the purposes of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common fundamental right of which the public and individuals cannot rightfully be deprived. Thompson v. Smith 154 SE 579 Virginia 1930. Supreme Court of Appeals. The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property is not a mere privilege which may be permitted, but a common right which he has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Chicago Coach Company v. City of Chicago 337 Illinois ILL 200. No state government entity has the power to allow or deny passage on the highways, byways, nor waterways. Travel is not a privilege requiring a license, vehicle registrations, or forced insurances. Common law jurisdiction, the Constitution or supreme law of the land, recognizes that a traveler is a private man or woman not participating in commerce, a non-commercial operator, who has the inviolable right to travel freely in this country in the ordinary course of life and business. Common law right to travel freely and unpaid on the public highways without vehicle registrations and insurances are an unalienable right that cannot be revoked by the state, nor can the state convert those rights into a privilege granted for a fee. Inviolable meaning something that must not be broken, violated, or dishonored. Principle, rule, or right that is sacred, secure, and cannot be infringed upon or tampered with. The state cannot diminish rights of the people. Hurtado v. California, 110 U.S. 516. No state may convert a secured liberty into a privilege and issue a license and fee for it. Murdoch v. Pennsylvania, 319 U.S. 105. Although the state has delegated the power of the people to create corporations and other legal fiction entities through birth certificates and social security numbers in order to participate in commerce and preserve safety on the highways, the state does not have the power to convert the lawful right to travel freely upon the highways into a paid legal privilege through the imposition of adhesion contracts. Adhesion contracts is defined as a standard contract from governmental agencies ultimately serving the debt money system of bondage. This is like your birth certificate, your social security number, your driver's license, all of that. Adhesion contracts are now standardized forms offered to the consumer of goods and services essentially on a take it or leave it basis without affording the consumer a realistic opportunity to bargain, and under such conditions that consumer cannot obtain the desired product or services except by agreeing to these contracts. We are forced to agreeing with these contracts, i.e. birth certificates and social security cards, by being intentionally misinformed by the deep state and public school systems. Forced consent is not consent. Misinformed consent is not consent. My private vehicle is a non-commercial vehicle, and forcing any tax, registration fee, or insurance on said vehicles is a form of usury, which is completely illegal and highly unconstitutional. The birth certificate scam, which turns natural private citizens into registered legal fiction entities, including corporations and artificial persons, is unconstitutional. Vehicle registrations and driver's license contracts are artificial commerce systems that can only be entered by consent. Forced consent is not consent. Misinformed consent is not consent. The current deep state governments of the United States are modern-day pirates operating under maritime admiralty laws, never fully severed from the United Kingdom, the same entity we sought and won independence from. That is, until President Trump and his administration from 2017 through present day. The deep state are the modern-day sheriff in Nottingham's, the present-day Roman Empire force in America, stealing money from its common private citizens to fund their lavish satanic Freemason lifestyles by means of dumbing down the population by any means necessary, including the poisoning of the food, air, and water. Did you know in Marion County alone, the county steals an average of $3 million from its private citizens under the fear of required non-commercial vehicle registration? I did the math.
I'm so proud of you, Danielle. So proud of you.
Constitution is the law of the land. Any state law, mandate, or statute that goes in direct violation of the Constitution is illegal and unconstitutional, and it is the duty of the American citizens to disobey and fight against any and all trespasses against the Constitution. As a veteran of the United States Navy, it is my responsibility and call of duty to disobey all orders that go in direct violation of the Constitution, as per the oath I swore in August of 2001. I, Daniele Rae Clark, do solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, so help me God. This oath didn't come with an expiration date. Every
So
entity known
proud
to
of
man
you.
who knowingly passed and enforced unconstitutional laws, statutes, and mandates are committing treason against the Constitution of the United States of America. The fake Freemason agenda of the satanic maritime admiralty law cult of the Illuminati, Rothschild, Rockefeller, BlackRock, pirate control, and corruption system is done. We, the people, do not consent now that we are correctly informed and awakened. As freedom pertains to failure to provide financial liability goes, if a private man or woman, i.e., me, exercises their right to travel, they accept the common law responsibility to cause no harm. The private man and woman are constitutionally bound to be the safest operators on the road. Therefore, the requirement for insurance is unconstitutional and unneeded, as we are protected children of the Most High God. The private man or woman, once learning and becoming actually informed of their true God given sovereign rights, granted and protected by the Constitution, can choose to not participate in the usury system, i.e., taxes, and the illegal IRS system, and in this case, specifically, the unconstitutional requirement for a bought and paid for unneeded system to fatten their insurance agent friend's pocket. They can and will be harassed, threatened, coerced, and in some cases, actually forced by threat of fines and/or imprisonment by the deep state through the corruption of the police force. The law enforcement of the United States of America should have been the first line of defense in defending our great Constitution against domestic terrorism. The second line of defense is the American veteran. I am she. The officer who pulled me over for not having registration on my vehicle had no reason to. I was exercising my First Amendment right of the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. I wasn't participating in commerce. I was a traveler on my own free time, not making any money for any financial gain. Non-commercial. I wasn't traveling faster than the posted speed limit. My vehicle was in proper working order as required by the safety statutes of the state of Iowa. I am
You
all for
covered it all. I'm so
I am
proud of you.
I am all for not causing no harm and being free. I no longer consent to the deep state's overreach and abuse of powers using fear tactics, manipulation, and ill-informed public, and I have made it my life's mission now to inform my fellow Americans on all the ways the deep state is taking away our freedom and committing treason against our Constitution, starting with the right to travel. I am the daughter of the Most High God, and I refuse to pay any and all fees mandated by any state that go in direct violation of the Constitution. Call of Duty 119, Land of the Free 119, You Are Free 119, Gemini Queen 119, Lady Christ 119, Mary Magdalene 119, Danielle Rae Clark 119. In closing, thank you, President Trump, and I did that. Thank you,
Yeah,
President Trump,
I love
for
it.
bringing back constitutional law and sovereignty. By the power granted to me by the Most High God as veteran petty officer of the United States Navy, I, Danielle Rae Clark, hereby charge Marion County, Appanoose County, and the state of Iowa with treason against the Constitution of the United States of America for violation of the First Amendment rights of we the people in regard to the right to travel freely, and order all governments wherein to cease and desist on the collection of any monies and enforcement of any before mentioned unconstitutional laws, statutes, and mandates. Furthermore, I order the return of all monies and property that have ever been unconstitutionally collected back to we the people and distributed accordingly to each individual citizen per case or risk punishment from the Most High God. You have no power over me. And that is how I ended my trial.
Girl, you covered it all, and I'm sure you threw them for a loop on knowing all this information. And what I
And the
love
judge
about
was
you
like,
thinking,
"You're guilty." And
good, you
then
got the paperwork so you can go after him personally after everything is said and
and
done.
so as soon as I figure it out, I am going to be filing charges against the state of Iowa and all of the judges who
And the police
found
officers.
me all of the judges who found me guilty after I proved my point. Um, I'm currently drafting my letter to Senator Grassley about all of this. It's in the
Hmm.
works. I have basically a portfolio I'm going to be putting together to send to him. I've already sent him numerous emails over the last 5 years about my life, and so I'm just They
Danielle.
said if you wanted to change stuff, you could write your senators and your congressmen and your president. Well, I'm reaching out to my people.
I'm
So,
so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You know what I love? What you just proved right there for me as well, looking at it from an outside perspective, is no average person out there would have known what to look up, what you were reciting. They would just quickly comply because one, they're so busy. They got to get back to work. They
well, I mean,
can't
I
take
had
time
help,
off.
you know,
You
you
get what
know,
I'm saying, though. My point
yeah,
is you held your ground because you know the truth. And that's what this whole spiritual war is all about, is knowing that we are each our own sovereign being. And, like you and I had talked about before, they're literally putting in people's faces all these medieval movies of the queen and all their guardsmen and everyone ransacking homes and all that. It's no different. They're just doing it a different way. I mean, how much more simple can you get? You know what I mean? And but people just they're tired, they're exhausted. They know that people are tired and exhausted, but you took the
right,
time to
because they
step
made
up
them
and be
that
like,
way.
I'm saying, huh?
They made them that way, and they know it.
I know.
They know
Yeah,
what
it's the
they know
program.
exactly what they've done.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm saying thank you for being such an amazing example of showing up instead of complying on vaccinations, on all your rights of everything you've already spoken of in this interview. I mean, I love people like you, and I'm really, really proud of you because honestly, when
Thank you.
I hear people talking about this, how can I put this? And I want to say it in a way that so I'm connected to quite a few people in the spiritual community out here in Utah. So I want to tread lightly because I've seen how many of them have left the corrupt corporate church and for sexual abuse, for all different things. I mean, just the normalizing of how they've been
Right.
taking over the state and so forth. But what I find interesting, Danielle, is a couple times I've tried to share gematria in some of the spiritual groups, and I'm just going to set the tone. So, a lot of these people claim to be spiritual leaders, and we're not supposed to judge one another, right? Instantly, I got judged. They're like, this is ridiculous. This has nothing to do with spirituality. I'm like, this is a new spiritual modality that a lot of you have never even heard of. Don't you want to be open to being open? Because it's going to help you in the end. But what I also find interesting is, you know me, and I know you. You're all love and kindness, but you've got
Oh
that
no,
badass war.
not really.
Hold on, you've got that. You are loving and kind, but you also have that warrior spirit, and that's what I love about you. And I'm built the same way. So what I'm saying is, I've had a few people where they're like, "Well, what you're saying isn't all love and kindness," and I'm like, "You better step back first off." Because we were all built for a different mission here. And if yours is to come in and do the love and light thing on the end, that's awesome. But as President Trump always says, nothing can stop what's happening. What's one of his other, like, everyone is going to have to go through this? What's that?
Right.
What's that? Like, they cannot act like all love and light. They are going to hit rock bottom. They're going to go, what the heck? I mean,
Well,
it's going to be
and that's
bad.
just like there's a lot of,
My point to it,
my
my
version
point.
of heaven isn't the same as somebody else's, you
Oh, and
know.
I think that's across the board for everyone.
And
Yeah.
then and that's where people need to understand we're all walking our own path and we need to start staying
Yeah.
in our own path. Like
And stop
staying in the
judging
light.
one another,
And
though.
right. And but
That's the point I'm trying to get to.
yeah, we're going to the same place. We're just on different roads. And
Yeah.
we may
Yeah.
not get there at the same time,
Yeah.
but we're the end goal, the end game is for everybody to get to heaven, right? That was the like finish
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I tell you
But
my theory about the gates of heaven?
I want you to say it in 1 minute because I just wanted to cap off what I was trying to get to because I love it because we talked about this yesterday. my point to these quote unquote spiritual leaders is you are actually going against everything that you are teaching your clients, so to speak, in judging another person. Because if you feel that you've already learned everything and you are not open-minded to see how gematria, aka numerology, can help you with your clients, how it will help you connect the dots in what's been happening behind the scenes, how it's like your own personal tarot. I think that
Yeah, but
gematria is actually
gematria
better than.
is for everybody. It's just
Exactly. It's not for a certain religion. It's for all religions and faith. And that's
right,
what
but you're
they,
still
but you
gonna
get what
have
I'm
those
saying is they
people that
shut it
don't
down
for
really
them
quick. And my point
too.
is we all have a different, if we were all love and light and we didn't have, we'd all be dead by now. You get what I'm saying? So when these spiritual leaders are like, this has nothing to do, I'm like, no, everything is tying together. All your world politics, all the human trafficking, all of you spiritual people that know that we're being poisoned and so forth, it is all connected. And oh, did you see what I was doing? But so I just want to throw that out for people that it's a really great idea for everyone to be open to being open because eventually they're going to be seeking people out that know how to teach gematria. Because what I found is I've had a few people reach out to me and they're like, "What's this Q stuff and all that?" They see the posts and they see the comms, but they don't know how they come up with it. So that's why I think it's important for people to start learning how to use it. Then they can understand how so much of it has already come true. So that's all I'm saying in the spiritual community.
Mhm.
I respect them for their gifts, and I hope that they send that in return for the gifts that I have learned. You get what I'm saying? Like, we got to just stop doing that whole. So, but I digress. Okay, tell me what you're going to say
No,
about the.
I don't I used to be angry, and I used to be like the left wing. I was like, how there's those left wing nut jobs, like the purple hair ladies, or the what ladies that shave their head, and was like the ones with
They
TDS.
jumped on the bandwagon because
No,
without
like
like
the ones with extreme TDS, and they just hate Trump for just no reason, and they're always screaming
yeah,
about it.
it's
Like
really sad.
there's been
It's not
times where like I've been
accomplishing.
on the but I'm the right side of it. Like I'm like I'm just,
Yeah,
so
I get what you're saying. And I have a couple friends that went to some of that and I think they're great people, but at the same time, it's part of the program. Monkey see, monkey do. Oh, let's all just do this. Let's all do the Tide Pod. Like people just don't even use common sense anymore. And that's really what it dwindles down to is people just jump on the bandwagon of whatever hate propaganda that they want to be on instead of getting down to the root of understanding what's really happening and dissecting and doing your research on both sides to see which side makes more sense and what actually you can see which side um, the truth is leaning more towards, if that makes sense. So, but I
I
digress.
mean, in my time that I know of, uh President Trump's the only president who I've ever seen openly, in prayer with at his events and things like that, or you know just so I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree with you. And what I love too
There's
is
a lot
that,
of things that President Trump is the only one who's ever done it, and he
uh,
used to be one of
besides
their.
JFK, Reagan was pretty good too. He was throwing some shots out there too, because why did they try to whack him too? Mhm.
Right. Yeah, that was. I'm an '80s baby, so the I like the time I remember the first election I actually remember was a Clinton election, so pretty sure, yeah.
And to think that I used to think like I seriously back in the day when Bill was in office and all that, I'm like, this guy's great. He's just so personable and he's about the people. And then when you just find out, it just goes to show. I mean, I voted for Obama the first time because I'm all about nature and the environment. And then I awaken
Well,
and I'm
I
like,
mean, now that I
holy
know what I
crap,
know, there's so
what a
many
big
central
fuck.
casting. Can you I really don't know if a certain person who got caught in the White House with one of our presidents was actually, just a staffer. I'm pretty sure she may or may not have been part of the CIA planting mics and things like that. Who knows? Because the way
I know
my
it's
magic
like
mind works, like I
I know
I'm
it's like one giant spy movie. That's why they make a million spy
right,
movies.
and I'm like ready to, like, I'm ready for my Jedi forces to open up and start working better. Like, I'm
Okay,
ready for a
you
med bed, so I want to undo the
uh,
poisoning. I want to be reset to manufacture settings. That's what I want.
that'd
Pre-poisoning,
be amazing.
pre-vaccines, pre-anything.
I'm
Pre
so glad you just
before
said that, Danielle, because
poisoning.
here's one thing that I have found also within the spiritual community is I find that really we all want the same thing, but we've been so deeply divided. And once we recognize that program in itself, let's take a step back and what actually makes sense. Why is it that you don't understand what President Trump is doing? Is because many people have been so deeply programmed to hate him without even knowing why they hate him. I mean, and it ties into what you were saying earlier on his rallies. Everyone is all like happy, and then you go to a lot of the other side of the protest, and they're angry, and they're like, go after them, and go after those people with those MAGA hats, and they don't even realize the program that they got programmed with was to go after people that want to make America great again, but they don't realize that that really was happening to them. Oop, it's 111. You get what I'm
I
saying? So
mean,
and the other thing I wanted to say about the spiritual community is many of them do know, like they don't recognize that Trump's administration is all about the healthy um, frequency and all that. They don't know what they know is what I'm saying, and they just prejudge. But they have so many spiritual healing modalities, like they know Reiki and all these things are real, but see, they've been so deeply programmed to hate him. If they found out that they know that this stuff is real because they wanted to keep it from the people, they might start thinking a little differently, like, wow, because I can tell you right
well, I
now, the
I
other
mean,
side has never spoken about that stuff. And but you get what I'm saying is the
a lot
spiritual
of people.
community is starting to wake up to what he's really about and what they're trying to do.
Well,
That's
I
all.
mean,
But it's our own journeys. That's the thing.
right,
That's
but
the unique
I
thing.
mean, there's still, like, according to most Christian religions, you shouldn't use things like tarot and Reiki meditation. They all have been programmed that that's evil and it's sorcery. Well, but yet
That's
they sure do love their Second Amendment rights, because guns don't kill people, people kill people. So same thing.
good point.
So
Yep.
I wrote an article once about, why do people think tarot is evil? And I was like, good question. Here, let me tell you what. Basically, at the end of the day, tarot is a tool. And if you're asking for help from the dark side, you're going to get help from the dark side. If you're asking
Yep.
from help from Jesus Christ and our Heavenly Father and our Heavenly Mother and Mary Magdalene, you're going to get help from the light side. If
Yeah.
you pull a trigger at a good person and you kill them with a gun, you're committing a murder. If you pull a trigger and you kill a bad guy who just killed somebody, I mean, is that even right too? But what I'm saying is a tarot deck is just like a gun. It's going to
Yeah.
sit there
It's
and
all
you
in
have
how
to
you
it's
use it. I
sit there
love
and
how
do
you put that.
absolutely nothing until the person who is wielding the tool does whatever they do.
I
Just like
agree.
just like a gun. A gun doesn't kill people. The person behind it who pulls the trigger is the one who would kill
Yeah.
people.
Well, that's a
So
perfect example too, because being out here in Utah, so many people were part of the Mormon church. And I think what a lot of them don't understand is that we're doing away with corporate religions. Like, who wouldn't want to
I
celebrate
don't
that?
really think a lot of that's going to go away. I just think new truths are going to come out and they're all going to get tied together because you can't have one without the other. All religion comes from one source. It
Yep,
all
I
comes from the
agree.
same source and it's been divided, and
Yep.
each
And
religion has their own truth. I have
And
much
think of the
respect.
duality of it too,
I have
though. If we
much
didn't have
respect
it,
for the Mormon church because the Mormon church believes that there is a heavenly mother. So I have a lot of respect for the Mormon church.
oh,
I don't
absolutely.
respect,
I think there's some
you know,
truth
I
to a
don't
lot of things
respect
they teach.
the evil that has gone on in churches. Absolutely not.
Normalizing
But you
raping
have that
children.
evil in every single little dominion of religion. You know, that's why I don't like
True.
quote organized religion very much.
Yeah.
I
But
can
what I'm trying to
appreciate
say
it
is,
though,
what
but
I'm trying to,
people use it as a way to stay closed-minded and to be, you know, kind of, they use it to kind of bury their head in the sand and just go, oh, like it's not happening. I don't see it, so it's not happening. You know,
yeah.
especially
Well,
like with the evil
they
things
don't
going on in
understand.
church.
They don't teach in church that you have your own Christ laminin DNA within you. And once people, I've been talking to a few people out here in Utah, especially in the community, in
Right,
the
that's
spiritual
like with the
community.
Christianity, like they don't
But
think
what
that you can be as good as Jesus and that Jesus was the only one who there was only one ever, and that's not true. It's
I
not
know, that's
true.
my point, is that even like what surprised me is a lot of people in the spiritual community out here didn't even know about the laminin protein. I'm like, huh? Yeah, you're getting all your energy and your downloads from energy and source, but it's connecting with your Christ DNA, and that makes sense. They're like, oh, and then they're like, ding, ding, ding. That's
And
why they
that's why they
wanted us to
wanted the
get down.
vaccine, so that way they could hijack your
Exactly.
DNA and take over your DNA. That's exactly right. The
But that's,
vaccines
yeah,
were specifically made as a bioweapon on your DNA, so that way you wouldn't
couldn't connect with your
continue
own
your
Christ.
ascension,
Yeah,
and so that way you would just keep on because they have never been able to stop the ascension process.
yeah,
They
yep,
can kill
yep.
you, but your soul, because your soul is eternal. So you just
I
get reborn.
know. I
And,
love this
and
stuff.
so, you know, when you get to the gate, if your avatar dies, say this avatar dies and my soul gets to the gate, if I haven't fulfilled what I said I would do for God, he's going to send me back down here. So where do you
Your
go?
creator,
You go back down to
to
earth.
hell on earth.
So earth is the highest, and this is all this I didn't get this I didn't come up with this myself. This is things that I've put together from all of my gnosis that I've gathered throughout my 43 years of life. So earth is middle earth, like Mordor, like Lord of the Rings, and that is where everything happens. It's the center of the universe because God built the foundation, the earth, foundation 119. Okay. Mary Magdalene 119. So he built the earth and then he built the heavens. So there's many heavens because he said heavens and it's plural. There's only one earth, but there's many heavens. And where
Yeah.
we live is the highest realm of hell and the lowest realm of heaven. So heaven and hell can simultaneously exist here in our realm. At
It
one
does.
time, we were joined, right? We were all in unity.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gates of hell, the two gatekeepers, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, they fell away. They fell out of they fell out of unity, so they went into separation. So the gates of hell got opened up to on earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, the Son, he completed his ascension, right? We know this to be true. Jesus has
Mm-hmm.
already ascended. So half of the gate is closed. So the gate, one of the gatekeepers came back. He made his way back, and so half of the gates closed. So that's the firmament. So evil is trapped inside of the firmament and it can't get out because that's the way it was designed. So
Mm-hmm.
now, once the second coming happens and the daughter of God ascends, then the gate, they'll be in unity again, and the gate will shut, and that is going to shut out the gates of hell, and it's going to open up the
Oh,
firmament, and that's going to open up heaven on earth. And that's what, and the
oh.
second coming is about us all realizing that we are all God's children.
Yes. No more division. We
There's
all
no
want
more
the same
division.
thing, really. That's the
And, you
bottom
know, just
line.
as much as, you know, the church talks about the female when they get baptized, the church is, especially a Christian church, A Christian church will say to a young woman that she is the bride of Christ and she needs to be pure and blah 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 and all of this stuff, but then we'll sit and like to the guy just be like, well, if a guy's getting baptized, who is he? That's who does he need to be like? He needs to be like the groom. If the woman needs to be like the bride for him, then he has to be like the groom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of, going through, like, I don't know, I guess your spiritual awakening too. A lot of people, are alone for a long time. Their
Mm-hmm.
relationships fall away, and for me personally, that's been part of, quote, saving myself for the Lord. Is waiting for the one who God made for me, and
Yeah.
being, and saving up my oil in my lamp, because when he comes, I don't want to, just giving it to away. I don't want to be that parable in the Bible anymore of the Jezebel, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They
I'm
already
so
tried to make
proud of you.
they already tried to make our Heavenly Mother look like a whore by taking her out of the church. They've taken out all of the female stories out of the Bible
Oh,
except
I
for just
can't
a
wait to
few.
hear all the truth.
And I have another theory that the female Bible stories are actually the fairy tales and the Disney princess stories of Disney. I think they turned the female goddess Bible stories of their healing, like how, you know just different things that, in
I'm going
the
to agree with you on that one. I'm going to agree with you on that
and
one.
I think they turned them into cartoons and was like, just to say, haha, they're never going to figure out that these stories, because they can't come up with it themselves, so they always had to copy people. Well,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's been somebody before, so our souls have a lot of memories because of the reincarnation process. Everybody's been here at least once, and some people have been here thousands of times, so they've been thousands of characters. So when they
Yep.
have these things, and they, that's just like, for instance, people like Jimi Hendrix, who just could play guitar right away, almost like, maybe in utero he was still playing guitar, who knows,
Yep.
but
Yep. Yep.
they just come out and they're
But I
able to
agree
do
with you.
things just
Yeah.
because their soul has memories. So, those kids who they're 3 years old and they can just play the piano just like this, and they're playing,
Yeah.
it's because their soul has a memory of it, so they know it. So children, children are straight from heaven, that. And
Mm.
so they have all of these things that they can do, and then what do? They want to cut off that
Connection.
connection. So they pump us full of vaccines, and then they continue poisoning us
Oh,
until
Danielle,
our avatar dies and we have to be born again. Because, so yeah.
I'll never forget Mickey Q not too long ago, a couple months ago, posting. It just really, when people are ready to open their minds to what's really happening. I don't know if you saw it, but it was these nurses surrounding this little baby on a table, and the baby is screaming bloody murder. And like literally, there's like a few nurses, and they're all, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, oh
I
my
mean, you
gosh.
remember having to vaccinate your children.
Oh, I don't want to even think about it. I'm so freaking mad. I ended up fighting
I
with the
know. I
stinger
remember
so
having
many
to vaccinate
times.
my children too. I mean, they all think I'm crazy now, but they forget that when they were, when mom was, you know, uh, doing what society told me to, unknowingly, like, and they were screaming when the doctor gave them I was
Yeah,
literally praying to God, like, oh my God, please don't let anything happen to my children. Like, I don't, and I
yeah.
would literally, while the kids are on the table, because I have 3 kids, you know I literally was like saying prayers to God, like, why am I even doing this? It just doesn't seem right. And then thank
Yeah,
God that I had my awakening. you know
yeah. I'm so proud
20
of you. And I love,
COVID-19 was a blessing and a curse.
yep, I agree. Same here. Same here. And you just brought me back to something that before I was awakened from COVID and everything going on, prior to that, I felt the same way with my girls going to school. I didn't understand the whole vaccination stuff and truly, really delve into it. but I do recall having arguments with the people at school going, so let me get this straight. If I do not get my kids vaccinated, like every year of them going to school, you will not allow them to go in. And they're like, yep, pretty much. And I'm like, something does not add up. And I
Yeah, and
firmly
then you're
believe,
like, but if
hold
my
on,
kid
I
doesn't go to
firmly believe
school, then they're gonna arrest me. And they're like, yep, pretty much. And you're like, what the fuck?
exactly. But my point is I really think that my youngest daughter has a lot of she's asthmatic and she also has nut allergies. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with what I ate or anything, but my point is I think that some of those vaccinations definitely tampered with my girls. I really do. Um, and I'm just glad that people are awakened to it. It's like, why do we need to put synthetic shit in our bodies? It doesn't even make sense when you really think of the big picture. And what I also love, Danielle, is that I love hearing your stories and a lot of our friends that are in the Cube movement that went to rallies and so forth, because what I'm hearing in between the lines is that negative 48, aka we know Michael Brian Prosman and Who is Mass, you just go listen to the old junior interviews on YouTube and it's the same, he's the same voice. But my point is that he's talking about all the things that you are talking about. And what I mean is the spiritual community loves this stuff. But I think that they feel that President Trump is all about God without realizing what his perception of God really is. It's your ascension process. It's everything that the spiritual community thinks of, but because they've been so deep, this is what I find so many have just been so deeply programmed, they don't understand that they have the knowledge of in the movies that you were talking about earlier. And I think that's genius. And I do understand when I say this, I'm not bashing the spiritual community whatsoever because I've learned that I've been on my own journey and I respect that they're on theirs, but let's just all keep an open mind on the big picture. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
if a spiritual leader is going to tell me that my gematria is like stupid and all that, I'll be like, shit, you got a lot of inner work to still keep working on if you're a leader. You better get going. And you know what I mean? It's just I'll be learning from them. I'm learning all the time from everyone, and I use
Well,
my own discernment. You know.
I mean, I've seen video of, and I've shared it before. Like, I'm like the only social media that I'm on anymore is Facebook because they kept closing all my accounts. But
Hmm.
well, and True Social, I guess. But when you start sharing all of these things, and especially gematria has been around for forever. It's always been a thing. It's
Hmm.
just it's one of those things that was hidden, and not necessarily
Exactly.
hidden, it just wasn't talked about. And maybe that,
Yeah.
yeah, you could call it hidden, the purpose, if you leave things out on
Encrypted messages, and yeah, I think it's
right,
pretty
you
freaking
leave it
cool.
out on purpose, and we come to know now that like the deep state was using gematria, you know, as a way to communicate. We know that now. And so,
Hmm.
this time it's all about doing what did Jesus do? He flipped the tables.
Yeah.
If you want to catch a thief, you have to become a thief. You know,
Yeah.
if you
You
want
have
to
to think like yeah.
be a bad guy, you have to think like a bad guy. And I'm sorry, that takes a lot of ego. It takes a lot of darkness and balancing your darkness with your thing. Those those men and women who have rescued children from tunnels, you know, they're literal superheroes.
Yes,
They
they
are
are.
literal superheroes sent.
They sacrifice their own lives because the people above, aren't walking around. I'm
I'd
like,
like to
it
say,
blows my
I'd
mind
like
how
to
what
think that
they
I
think.
would, do the same thing, but up in I've not rescued any children from child trafficking tunnels or from the mob or from, I've not rescued children from the Mexican cartel or from, the Israeli bad guys, which we all know is true. There's a reason why they're saving Israel for last. And a lot of people know, yes, it is. First of all, Israel isn't actually a real country. It was an occupation of bad guys in Pakistan. Look it up. It's the truth. Israel wasn't a country until like the 1950s, or even this, was it the 70s? I can't remember which. I looked it up. I can't remember what year it was, but
Yeah.
it was well over after the 1900s that Israel was even established a country. Israel isn't even supposed to be a real country. It's a parable for us being the body of Christ. And if you want to get
what you
technical
just
with
said,
it, the reason why they destroyed all of the Tartarian architecture in North America is so that way we would never know that our country is actually the original Holy Land.
Yep. Okay, that's a perfect thing that you just said. That's a perfect thing that you just said, because that's what the spiritual community out here in Utah is all about, Tartaria and all that. Yet they don't realize that that is exactly what Team Trump people is teaching behind the scenes. And if they did know that, they'd be like, holy shit,
Right.
I had no idea.
I don't want
So
you to
get what I'm
know
saying?
that the Capitol building in Des Moines is a Tartarian building that they use to collect energy from the ether for free, and then they sell it back to you through Mid-American Energy.
Yep.
And that they don't want you to know that windmills aren't actually windmills. They're used for weather modification, or that their super Doppler isn't actually super Doppler radar. What happens is they seed a cloud, do the research, look it up on weather modification.
Oh, yeah, I've already looked into that. Yep.
Lay down the chemtrails, they seed the clouds, they turn on their super Doppler, and then whatever way they want the storm to go, they point the windmill in the direction, and they start the fans. The windmills don't create energy for anything. And if windmills actually worked, they would if the earth was spinning and the earth was rotating all the time, a windmill would never stop turning until it actually broke off of the thing.
Good point.
All you gotta do like this. Here, I'll show you.
I love it all. I love it all. I love it all. Hey, where's JFK?
Can you see JFK?
He was there. He flipped out. I can't wait for people to hear his story. That's going to be a trip and a half.
Where am I? Hold on. I got to change. I got to go to my settings for a minute.
Y'all look amazing. Real quick, while you're working on that, the thing that I love to make, or not make, but encourage people to think about is, okay, everyone has worked so hard and they paid their tax dollars and so forth. Why are all of our government officials always fighting? They're supposed to be showing us the way of peace, love, and harmony. That's never happened. That's one. Two is monkey see, monkey do. So they are teaching the people to fight amongst each other, like that ants. Oh, there's like the ants movie. Remember that, where they were showing, they were afraid of the grasshoppers and all that, and then finally, it just took a few of the ants to stand up and be like, hey, we got more power over them. They didn't realize that they were giving their power away. But what I'm trying to get to when it comes to tax dollars is, think about this. These are the things that I would want my tax dollars to go to if they were legit and so forth. I'm just using it as an example. Is I would want no more drugs. If our government really loved our people, that all of our tax dollars would have gone to that, to make sure that no child, no person,
if you don't want your
no
tax
person
dollars to go to what you want it to, stop paying taxes, because they're unconstitutional.
I'm just using that loosely because we know that the taxes are going to be going away. But my point is that I want that money to go towards getting all the bad guys out of the country that keep flowing in, bringing their drugs and doing their human trafficking, normalizing that it's normal to be diddled by people in your family and in your church and all of that. I also want the monies to go towards people not having to worry about if our government is supposed to be protecting us. Like I'm just using this as an example. When someone gets their identity hacked into, and someone steals like their whole savings and their life savings and all that, why isn't our government standing up to that? There's another movie with Jason Statham on that. It's called The Beehive. It's a whole story on how it works on the back end. Think Art of War. So I want that taken care of. You get what I'm saying? Like I just want the basics taken care of so that everyone can live freely and we have free energy. We have clean water again. Like just get all these bad people out. Boom, done. That's it.
Well, yeah, but
I'm just trying to make a
you
point.
have to
I'm
have the
just
people
trying to
to
make a
replace them
point.
because evidently nobody in our country wants to just live in communities and just to be able to be like, oh, I'm a human being, a human child of God, so I have the capacity to go, oh, I'm driving too fast, I need to slow down a little bit, or I can handle it. I can handle driving 65 miles down the road because I'm not an idiot, you know? Or whatever.
Mhm.
Like they stop taking warning. They need to stop taking warning labels off of stuff. Period.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna
Yep.
do stupid
But that
stuff,
that's just my point. That's just my point that like why like get people's minds turning. Like why is it that we still have drugs? Why is it that they still normalize,
because they still have
prostitution?
drugs because they're still illegal, so that way they still have a way to make money.
Exactly. But you get what I'm trying to get to,
Because
and
jail
for
is a
people to expand
business.
their minds on if you're going to work your life off and have like 5 years to retire, you better hope that it doesn't go to stupid shit and that it goes towards the things that really are protecting our people and especially our children. Because when I think about if President Trump did not step in, I think about how much more worse it was going to be, not just for us parents, but our children, because they literally just made them super wimpy, like the diary of a wimpy kid. They made them like just meek and depressed and anxiety and scrolling on their
Yeah,
phone, and they
he's a
got their,
bully
um,
though.
hmm?
Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That kid's a bully.
You get what I'm saying? I'm just
I know.
using it as a loose term that I mean, these kids would have been so easily manipulated for something bad to take over, and they don't realize it, and the parents just would have let that happen, you know? So, but I digress.
It's
What were
because
you going to say
it's
again?
programming.
Yeah,
It's programming. That's just it's all programming. It's programming error.
yeah, yeah. I like your pinwheel.
This
I used to
is
love those.
this is what I use to disprove that the earth is round and spinning.
Go for it. Explain it.
If the earth was round and spinning, it would be spinning right now.
Hmm.
Because if the earth was in constant motion, do you see how it started spinning as soon as I
Yes,
did
I see
that?
what you're. Yep,
Okay?
yep, yep. There's a
But
reason why in
if you
biblical
just have it
parables.
sitting here like this, it doesn't move. And the reason is because we don't move. So
Oh, I wasn't sure about all of that at first, but it makes sense because what I've realized is scripture and parables, when people can actually do those parables in scripture from the Bible and place it into gematria, it starts connecting the dots of some truth.
it's sad though
Yes,
because
there's a reason.
people who even people who can quote Bible scripture still, because of the programming, they still think that we live on a round earth. Even
Yeah.
though
I thought
even
so too.
though all you got to do is read page 1 of Genesis. And I got my Bible right
Mhm.
over there if you want me to read it.
Do it. Do it, Q. Hold on while you're doing that. I got to go do something here. Hold on. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Excuse,
I'm on a Zoom. I was
excuse
just
me,
hoping.
sir. Excuse me, sir.
I mean, I love kids having fun. I left a note on the door. Okay. On there.
So this is the 1611 Holy Bible, King James Version.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And he said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light, and God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. That's funny how they listed the evening first before almost.
Mm.
It's that they have us backwards.
Everything is that's why I mean, I know a lot of people that may not like him, and we're talking about this. He says everything we've been taught is a lie. Like it's almost like just do everything opposite, and you'll that's where you get your
And God
truth.
said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And still, there and again, it listed the evening first before the morning. So
Yeah, that's
we're supposed to
wow.
have the evening starts the new day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together in one place." That means they can't exist on a ball because water doesn't gather on a ball. If you try to put water on a ball, it will roll right off of it. So there,
Mm-hmm.
right
Mm-hmm.
there, this proves round Earth right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're totally open to
Waters
people's
under the heaven
comments
gathered
after
together
the.
in one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called the seas, and God saw that it was good. Yep. So yeah, we've been lied
This
to about a lot of things, and all you have to do
yeah.
is, stop listening to the
Use the common
lies.
sense and connect the
I
dots.
really wish that they would take over the airwaves like on Atlas Shrugged already. Like I'm ready for them to call the EBS Mockingbird Media Blackout 222 1,000 Years of Peace 222. Like I'm ready for it.
We all are. We're pretty much
I
ready.
don't make the
And
rules.
honestly, people have had over 4 years to do research, and I feel bad. I feel bad that
I
they
don't
got
really feel
stuck.
bad for anybody who isn't awake anymore. They're just I I don't feel
I
bad for
know.
'em.
That's
I
where
feel
I'm
bad
going.
for
It's like,
us
yeah,
who are awake and who are still getting
and
called
torture.
liars and crazy by the people who refuse to wake
Oh,
up.
it's a lot less
That's
though.
what I'm
That's for
tired of.
sure. Yeah,
That's
yeah. Well, we know that I mean, pretty much the comments have stopped on my posts. I mean, I think that the people are starting to awaken. But my point is that um I feel bad for them because the program runs so deep, and here they had all this time to do their own research on both sides, just like they taught us how to document and recite our research in high school and in college courses. You don't need to watch someone on your fake news to have credibility. The people have credibility as well. And my point is it just makes me really, really sad that when it's going to be in their face like any day now, and the whole world is told the truth. It breaks my heart for them that they got so deeply played. And that's why, there's going to be people like you and I and the spiritual community and God truther and faithers, everyone, we're going to be there to help them because we know what it's like to feel
right.
broken down. And that's how the whole big master plan was programmed to work. And I just think it's genius. And honestly, for the people that I love to think about this stuff, Danielle, is that I'm not gonna lie. I left the Catholic Church because I just felt like it pumped fear. I mean, I got my children baptized, but I stopped bringing them because I was just like, you guys aren't answering any of my questions. Yeah, you're telling me history, but you're not answering my questions. And you're trying to keep me in this little box of asking me these questions, you know? But what I think is genius is I think so many people they're not going to have a choice. They're going to be a believer in Jesus because you can't write about someone throughout all time in history and all religions for nothing. There's truth to it, and we're all going to end up finding out about it. And I think it's brilliant. And I'm just so grateful that I had my own experience. Just like you said, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time. And I think now we're hitting the blessing stages, and they're going to be coming really, really quick. They're going to be coming in, and because that's how we're all supposed to help one another, you know? So
Yeah.
I just think it's a beautiful art of war. I mean, there's a reason why Trump wrote a book about all that too, when you think about it. I mean, it's in your face everywhere. And once people end
Right.
up opening their minds, instead of hating a man, I mean, my goodness, I think that's the part for me when I think about people I mean, I shouldn't say when the truth is told because basically people are learning, like it's all coming out in the fake news one way or another now. You know what I mean? Like people don't even realize that Elon and the Trump thing going on right now is part of central casting because they're just so genius in the writing that
I
they're like,
just can't
I'm gonna
even
start
do
my own.
I just can't even do like TV anymore. Like I haven't
Yeah,
been able to do TV anymore, but it's
I
really
feel the
like
same.
now, even now I'm like, especially now, I just
Oh, girl, I've cut back for I'd say 6 months now. I don't even watch a lot of the mainstream news anymore because we already know what the end result is going to be. We've just been waiting, you know, and think about it. That was genius on the corrupt side of it, like going, oh my gosh, see, these people look crazy to their families because there's going to be an emergency broadcast, and here we are 4 years later. But what I realized is, Danielle, once you can understand the massive amount of logistics, it's not just in the US, it's like all over the world in places we've never even heard of. You know what I mean? Or even technically on the map. I mean, the shit goes deep. So of course, but what I see that's positive is that we're prepared now. Like we went through so many years of just being ridiculed and mocked, just like Jesus's followers. Like just one, two words can make you feel like you're. I mean, it didn't work for me, but you know, just to say you're a conspiracy theorist or you're a prepper. I mean, I just started hearing that term prepper. I'm like, so it's not good to be prepared because that's pretty dumb if you fell for that code word, you know. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I can see why it took so long, so many years since COVID to awaken people because it's way bigger than anyone can imagine. And to think just like Jimmy Carter had mentioned in one of his last interviews, I mean, how 160 million women and children go missing around the world every year. And he said right in that interview, it keeps going on. Why the hell would people not want to be more alert and learn more? I mean, they're putting it in your face everywhere. It just breaks
because
my
they
heart.
have everybody distracted.
Yep, yep, yep.
I
Well,
mean,
listen, Danielle, I could talk to you all day long. I mean, we're almost
right?
creeping up
Yeah,
on two
we're
hours
almost
here,
4
but
hours. Yep.
what would be your words of encouragement for people that might be catching this and being like, "Oh, listen to these crazy ladies," but when they really start doing the delve, there's a lot of documented information on it. Like, where would you encourage people to start and what's about to unfold? What would you say?
I would say just, I mean, I don't know, listen to your own voice, not the negative one telling you to commit suicide. Don't listen to that one,
Yeah, no
but
one wants to listen to that one.
no. There's just do your own research on things and come up with your own conclusion. And facts, figures, and logic isn't always right, because guess what? Those can be manipulated. Men have
Hmm.
manipulated facts and figures and receipts. They've proven that time and time again, that they're cheaters, they're manipulators. They have two sets of books, sometimes three or four sets of books. That's why I don't trust anybody. So do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. Don't take anybody's word for it, ever. You
I
know,
agree. And ask questions when they
and
do
don't
their research.
overshare.
Not a
That's one of the
topic,
things I'm
not a
learning is
topic, not a topic, but ask the right question of the topic. Because that's one thing I found when doing research is don't just type in the topic because you're going to get all the fake stuff. Ask the question
well, not
of
only
is
that,
this,
you know, use a different search engine besides just Google. Google is owned by the deep state, yeah, and I know the Patriots are in control and everything. However,
yeah,
it's already been proven that Google is just their search engine when you put in certain things like, weather manipulation and things like that. It is made to steer you away from the answer, away
yeah,
from the truth. It's made to, and we've all had our turns with the technology, with looking up stuff, and the problems that we've had with AI. I don't use Chat GPT anymore. Fuck those guys. you know
yeah.
um
I always go
I,
here.
I
I
I
always
don't
go
trust
here.
a lot of AI. Just like Sarah Connor warned you guys, stop making friends with AI. They're not.
I
It's
agree.
not C3PO. Like they're not.
It's
They're not your
normalizing.
friend.
That's the process of normalizing, relying on AI rather than relying on your Christ DNA within
Right.
yourself.
Right.
And
Alexa
that's
isn't
I
your friend.
believe that's
She's
the
collecting your data
true.
for the deep state. Like
I truly
stop.
think that that is the true mark of the beast in the parables and so forth within um the Bible. I mean it speaks of it perfectly. It's manipulation and deception, and it's not going to come it yeah, but yeah, I loved what you said, Danielle. Good words of advice. And I do for people that are catching this, when I talk about the spiritual community, please know I don't mean any disrespect. I actually like bringing up this stuff so people can talk more openly about it without being like they're wrong. Just keep an open mind. You know what I mean? Keep an open mind on how gematria works. Keep an open mind on this Q movement that is really ramping up. People are noticing Q in everything now, if you're paying attention. I mean, I love it when President Trump is always he'll end up doing his Q movement. I tell people, I'm like, just look for that. Then you'll know. Because the Illuminati do their hands in oh, that's a whole nother story. I realized one thing that they do a lot out here in Mormon country is they always have the fathers have their hands on the children. And when you think about that, Danielle, to me, that the Holy Spirit speaks to me saying, if something's going on in your household, that's your reminder to know not to say a word. Do you get what I'm saying? The duality of these hand
Like
gestures and
like
things. So that's a big
control.
thing out here in Mormon country. What I'm trying to say is the father always will put his hand on his son or child's shoulder, like, know your place, kid. If there's some sexual abuse or anything creepy going on, know your place and not say a word. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
That's part of normalizing it, is
Yeah,
the fear. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
after I found out, like, first of all, like just like the Menendez brothers, you know what? They should have never been in jail. Those boys were sexually molested and
I remember that.
everything
Yeah.
from. No, guess what? What they did, that was justified. They did a service to the people of the United States when they killed their parents. So I'd
I
like to
remember hearing about
forgive
that,
the
and it
people of
sounded
their parents.
crazy. It sounded, I'm not going to lie, back in the day, it sounded crazy when they were making those accusations. And I
Right,
was like,
because
oh my
they
gosh, are they
didn't
just
tell
trying to think of
everybody
this
that
to
the
get
boys
off?
spent their whole lives being sexually molested and abused by their parents,
Yeah,
and then their parents have ties to like all of the
evil
Hollywood
cabal people.
sexual abuse people, like all of it, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
no. So
Mm-hmm.
if you or somebody you know has ever had to take out a creepo for, who we I'm done. We don't protect pedophiles.
Nope.
God can take care of it.
Yep.
God
I'm
can
a
take
firm
care
believer
of
of
it.
that. Yep.
We will arrange the meeting, but God can take care of their soul. We don't protect
Yeah.
pedophiles anymore because that's how then
Nope.
pedophilia is normalized. It's just swept under the rug. We ain't sweeping shit under the rug anymore. We're cleaning
Yep.
out all the closets. Everything's getting a
Yep.
deep clean. We don't
I can't
protect
wait.
pedophiles anymore.
Yep.
We're
And I
not
love
doing
that
it.
you just said that because I firmly
I
believe
don't care
once
whose
everyone,
uncle he
once,
is. I don't care whose daddy is. I don't care whose aunt
yep,
she is. I don't care whose mom
uncle,
she
yep,
is. If
yep,
you
it's sick.
pedophiled a kid, you should
Are going to be
die.
dealt with.
That's my opinion.
Yep, yep. And one thing too, though, I think that once, as the truth has been trickling out, I mean, now they're publicly saying on fake news that yes, the that causes, But my point is I think that once the EBS and everyone's shaken up to a core, and they speak of the pedophilia. I think in every state, especially here in Utah for the Mormonism and so forth, it is going to be a huge stepping stone for the people that have lived in silence and pain, to just be like, holy shit, it's so nice
Yeah,
to know
I
there's so
mean,
many of you out there because they
if there's
shushed me, they dumbed
anything
me
that I could
down.
say to a victim is, guess what? Stop being silent. Stop
Yep,
being
I
quiet
agree.
about it.
Yep, I
If
agree.
those people didn't want you to paint a bad picture of them, then they shouldn't have did what they did.
Yep,
Because guess
I
what?
agree.
I haven't faced my abuser yet, but
I'm so proud of you, though.
I've
It's
told my
got to be
family
tough.
about it. I told my mom about it, and my mom doesn't want to quit hanging out with her sister. But here's the thing, nobody's saying, Danielle, why are you lying? Nobody's accusing me of lying
Yeah,
because they know I'm not lying. They know I'm telling.
exactly.
So
Just
what
let
are
them
they
in the
doing? What
family.
they're doing is
We got four
they're
minutes.
still
We
talking to people who are pedophiles. No, we're
within
not
people that
protecting
yeah.
pedophiles anymore.
Yeah,
We're not
I
doing it.
agree. Yep. Yep. And I'm proud of you for standing up. Well, listen, Danielle, thank you so much for all your knowledge. I was so proud of you reading off what you said to the court. I think it's important for people to stop scrolling on their phones. If they're doing research, that's cool. But if you're doing mindless stuff, start learning and expanding your brain and start digging into these topics. So I want to encourage you to like, subscribe because I'm ready to rock and roll and really get more guests on. I'm intrigued by all of this. And thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome. Love you.
Love you.